friends! Welcome to part 2 of books that helped my spiritual healing journey. Last video we talked about some of the more memoirs and storybooks that helped me get into the mindset and apply these practices to my everyday life. Today we're going to talk about 5 reference books that I used to learn the practices when I first started out and that I still reference to this day. So if that sounds interesting to you, you are in the right place. If you've been here for a while, you have seen me reference this book probably 100 times at this point. It's my favorite of this whole haul. This was my introduction to crystal healing and still one of my favorite reference books today, and definitely the #1 book I recommend for beginners. It is Change Your Energy by Krista Mitchell. I very obviously use this book a lot. I love it because when I first got into crystal healing, as you know, I was a major skeptic of it, thought it was absolute baloney. And Krista's book was the first reference guide that I felt like met me where I was at. A lot of times I find reference books will just kind of throw out words that they assume you know, and then you're like, what the hell is that? And when you're a skeptic, that can be like really deflating. I remember looking up resources and doing research and reading other books and being like, what the hell are you talking about? Or I felt like a lot of books were leaving pieces out, like I didn't have all the information to start my practice. But I feel like Krista does a really good job at walking you through start to finish. Here's exactly what you do when you buy a crystal. Here's exactly how to work with it. Here's why we do these things with them. And then here's specific crystals that you can use for specific things. There's just a lot of great information in here. And my favorite part is in the back of the book. She has some crystal healing layouts and talks about how to safely infuse crystal energy with water. And those are parts that I still reference to this day. Yin Yoga was my intro to this entire world. Like, I would not be sitting here talking to you if it were not my Yin Yoga teacher introducing me to these concepts. So I have to give a shout out to The Ultimate Guide to Yin Yoga by Bernie Clark. Whether or not you practice Yin Yoga, this book is still helpful. He goes into detail about how these practices, and by these practices I mean Yin Yoga and meditation in general, can help you like shift and sense energy in your own body. There's postures in here, there is discussion around the meridians and what they do and where they are and how you can sense them. The meridians are rivers of energy that chi flows through in the body, and that affects your mental health, your emotional health, and your physical health. He also talks about the science behind the practice, so physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically. So I just think it's a really good guide if you're wanting to learn how to sense energy in the body and you want to understand what's happening behind the scenes in your in your being. I have both versions of it, both editions. The new one is definitely a lot more comprehensive, a lot more accessible to, and there's a lot more nuance in it and new research and education, which I really appreciate. So definitely if you're interested in Yin Yoga or like using the body to sense and shift energy, I highly recommend this one. And if you've never experienced Yin Yoga before, I will leave a link to my Yin Yoga for energy sensing video so that you can try and feel it in your own body and see how it feels for you. In the same realm as that last book, when I started to explore different energetic maps of the body, I really did lean into the traditional Chinese medicine approach to energy for many years. That was like my map that I followed. Now I sort of fuse a couple of different maps in my work, but I definitely still think there's a lot of benefit to working with the meridians. And in traditional Chinese medicine, there is a lot of work around the seasons and really flowing with nature, looking to nature for clues on how we can be more aligned energetically. And this book definitely helps break all of that down. It is Staying Healthy with the Seasons by Elson Haas. It's a great reference book. I use this all the time in my work and in my life, but it talks through every season that we experience in nature, what nature's trying to tell us, and how we can align on a physical level using the body, using food, nourishing the body in different ways, but also on like a mental, emotional mindset way. So in winter, the season is asking us to turn inward, to slow down, to conserve resources. How can we bring that into our body, our mind, our spirit? So I just think it's a great reference guide if you're interested in that, if you're interested in working with the seasons and working with the energy that's all around us. It's really comprehensive. It's pretty easy to read through. I mean, some TCM books I've read are really like textbooky and kind of heady, but this one is very practical. Like, do this, try this, explore this, rather than like getting too jargony about it. You know, as I started to explore energy healing more and more, I found it helpful to learn about different energetic maps of the body. So the meridian map is one, and then of course the chakras are another one. I recently learned that I've been pronouncing chakras wrong. All of my teachers say chakras, and so I'm really trying to make an effort to change my pronunciation, but it's really difficult when for the last 7 or 8 years I've said chakras, and now I'm trying to say chakras. That's a fun little add-on for you. This book was really helpful as an overview. I found the chakras to be really overwhelming when I first started. There's just so much information. It's really hard to keep track of it all. And I found this book to be extremely helpful at just boiling down and really showing me rather than telling me what I should do to balance each chakra. So this is the book of Chakra Healing by Liz Simpson. It's in full color. It's absolutely gorgeous. She has all these different practices. She has some great like diagrams. I love that she talks about crystals for the chakras, different exercises. She shows different altar examples. When I was newer to the practice, altars were a huge part of how I got centered when I did like my yoga practice or my crystal healing practice for myself. There's different meditations in here, different exercises like yoga postures. It's just really helpful, especially if you're a visual learner like I am, to really like wrap your brain around all of the information about these energy centers. If you are trying to learn about the chakras and you're feeling overwhelmed, I'll leave a link to my Intro to the Chakras course below. That goes over how you can sense when you have an imbalance in your energy centers and what you can do to bring it back into alignment. There's physical postures, there's sound healing, there's meditation, there's articles, there's science. It's a pretty cool course. It's over 2 hours worth of content, so I'll leave that below in case you want to check it out. The newest resource that I've added to my absolute must-have list, it is Why Woo Woo Works. This is by David R. Hamilton. This one I found maybe 6 months ago. Absolutely blew my mind. Totally blew my mind. So the subtitle is The Surprising Science Behind Meditation, Reiki, Crystals, and Other Alternative Practices. And it does not disappoint. I mean, I reference this in all of my Reiki trainings because there's so much good information about the studies that have gone into these different practices. What I love about it is he really looks the placebo effect in the eye and takes that argument out of the equation, because at the end of the day, there are so many different variables that go into whether or not these healing practices work for you. He actually talks about in the book how doctors who are empathetic to their patients, they show empathy, they want to actually listen to you, their patients heal faster than doctors that don't show empathy. That is considered a placebo effect, but would we tell doctors to stop being empathetic because it's just a placebo? No, like literally the opposite. We know that that is a variable that adds to someone's healing experience. Just like, you know, having calm lighting and calm music in a Reiki room is going to add to the benefit, add to the healing experience than if you were doing Reiki in a subway station. So I love this book. I think if you are a skeptic, you need to read it. If you're not a skeptic, you need to read it. If you are interested in these practices at all, you need to read it. It has now become like my favorite resource. I reach for it every single day, and it really has helped me overcome that last little like 0.5% of a skeptic that's just like lingering in my brain, because the research in here is just undeniable. I can't say enough good things about this book. It's just so freaking good. You need it. It was so hard to boil this down to just 5. I have so many more resource books that I can share with you. So if you are interested in seeing a part 2 to the part 2, let me know. And if you have a favorite resource or reference book that you use to help learn about these practices, let me know in the comments below. I'm always looking for new books to add to my library and new resources to share with you. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next video, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.